Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Donna Chow and I'm your host and your moderator for today's eLotus webinar. eLotus is the leading provider of continuing education for acupuncturists. And today's webinar is Palmistry, gift markings presented by Rick Bernard. Before we begin, let me do a little housekeeping. Today's webinar will be from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific time. This is Rick's third palmistry course at eLotus. To learn the basics, be sure to watch his first two introductory classes, which are available on elotus.org and are CEU approved. And even better, I recommend the Gold Pass membership, which allows you to see all his past and future webinars for free, as well as receive unlimited CEUs and free herbs. If you have not done so already, you can get a copy of the lecture notes from the course access page in your account. And if you want to join the chat, please set your chat to everyone so that everyone can be part of the conversation and see what you're typing. You'll have to do this manually because by default, the Zoom only allows the speaker and staff to see what you're writing. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your Zoom control panel. And if there is time, then Rick will be able to help answer them for you. The quiz and the video replay will both be available tomorrow afternoon, and you will receive an email notification when they are both ready. So let's get started with a quick introduction of Rick Bernard, who has studied palmistry for over 20 years with his mentor, Richard Unger. And today he will share his interpretation of what he has learned in hopes that it inspires us to study more about this branch of medicine to better support our patients and clients. Okay, Rick, you can go ahead and take over now and share your PowerPoint.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining me for the third class in our series of learning how to read hands. This is kind of a fun class. We're going to teach you how to pick out gift markings and how to use them to actually empower your patients. Because people, it's really helpful for patients to know their talents and their skills. It feeds them. It makes them actually stronger. So we want to try and empower our patients any way we can. And gift markings is kind of a good way to do it. Not everybody has gift markings. Some people have multiple gift markings. That can actually be a little bit confusing and a little bit difficult for people. So, but if you do have them, it's really kind of fun. And it's just a matter of figuring out whether you're actually using them or not. And there are ways to tell that by looking at other elements in the hand. So we're kind of build our database as we go along here, because ultimately we want to be able to start threading traits. And so not just pick out one thing in a hand and talk about it by itself. We want to, so you have a Star of Jupiter, a gift marking. How does that work on a earth hand versus an air hand or a water hand? You want to start looking at combinations and see how different energies kind of work together. My mentor has mastered that. I don't use this enough. I do it more as a hobby now, but I mean, he reads hands with people every day, so he's really great at threading traits, and you get better at it as you do it more and more. And we'll do a little bit of that today, kind of show you how it works. So gift markings are more than just a talent that we have. It's they have to be used, or there's actually a penalty for not using them. And Richard kind of developed this whole theory about gift markings, that they're great to have, but if you're not using them, there's actually a penalty that you pay. So when we discover what our gift markings are, we really want to put energy towards using them. And sometimes gift markings are gestational. There's a longer gestation period for some gift markings than others. So sometimes it takes years to really to develop how to use a gift marking. It's like Michael Jordan. For basketball fans out there, Michael Jordan, most of you know Michael Jordan anyway, basketball player. When he was a sophomore in high school, he got cut from his basketball team. And through time and effort and using different talents and developing different talents, he became one of the best player actually ever to play. Gift markings are kind of like that. A lot of gift markings are just lines crossing with a common center. Usually you'll have three lines that will cross and will have a common center. You'll see some in just a second. And each one of those those lines is a different skill trait. So you want to have, some people only have 4 or 5 of those lines crossing. They haven't really quite developed the gift. So you're really looking for 3 lines that have a common center that are crossing. Okay. And then, people are using their imagination, which is kind of the moon area of the hand, cleverness, which is part of the Mercury trait. Apollo is more creativity. They're using the creativity. They're using the discipline of their Saturn finger. They're using the confidence of their Jupiter finger, and the determination of their thumbs. And that creates the whole gift marking is when people can develop all of those on one skill. So, so we want to determine where those gift markings show up and under which finger that they show up. That'll tell us a little bit more about what that's all about. So another thing about gift markings is that they want to become the centerpiece of your life. So it's not just good enough to have those. And I say some people are kind of water cooler psychologists. They work for IBM, and they on their break time they go to the water cooler and they start giving advice to people. Well, that wouldn't be using your talent, your gift enough. You have to actually do it as a centerpiece of your life. You want to be, for example, if you had a medical stigmata, the mark of a healer, you'd want to be some kind of a counselor. You just can't do it part time and during your break time at the water cooler, so to speak. So again, penalty phase is something I haven't had a lot of experience in really looking into. I usually will see a marking, and I'll try and see if there's anything that's preventing them from using it, and I'll show you how to do that. And I don't really talk so much about what the penalty is if they're not using it. I want to try to empower people. I don't want to concentrate on the negative part of it so much. So Beethoven, for example, doesn't have just a musical talent. He has a gift. So he needs to use it, and he has to actually bring it out into the world and be part of the centerpiece of his life. Okay. So playing at weddings and bar mitzvahs would not be fulfilling his gift marking enough. Okay. So usually when I see somebody with a gift marking, there's 2 questions that I want to ask them. Is the person aware of their special capability? Many times they are. And then there are times when they're actually not. Be a leader? No. But yet they have people following them that they don't even realize that are listening to them. And they actually are in a leadership position, and people view them that way, but they haven't taken that on, and they don't really believe it enough. So it's a lot of developing self-esteem. Okay, so again, if they do recognize that they haven't made it the centerpiece of their life yet, and that's what we want to kind of get people to do, take advantage of their gift marking. Here's a list of some of the gift markings we'll talk about. There's a couple I did not include in here, like Persephone headline, but we'll talk about most of the other ones here and how they work in a person's life. So let's talk about the first one. Now, we're going to start kind of across the hand, underneath the fingers, and underneath each finger on the pad is where these gift markings are all going to show up. These first 4 gift markings, and this is going to be underneath the Jupiter finger. Remember, Jupiter is Zeus. Jupiter is a mythological Roman, but it's in the Greek mythology. He's actually Zeus, and Zeus had lightning bolts, right? So this is a mark of the leader. Okay, inspirational leader, and let's move a little bit forward. So you can see the crossing forming a star, a 6-point star there. It's not a perfectly formed star, so it's got a little bit of work to do, but it's enough to provide leadership. And you can look at some of the other markings. I'm going to show you, just kind of point out other little markings in the hand. You just to get used to seeing them. So you can also see the verticals that run up. Lines that run up towards the Jupiter finger, and you can actually see a couple of them. Those are lines of ambition. So obviously that's going to go with the Jupiter. That's going to feed the Jupiter finger. And you can see a box right in the middle of that circle that is formed, and that's actually called a teacher's box. And those are people that tend to have really good skills at teaching, and that would be a helpful tool to have if you're trying to be a leader and lead people. These horizontals here, these are just lines of sensitivity. Remember, these are called girdles. We went over these in an earlier class. Any line that's above this heart line, a horizontal line, is going to be an extra line of sensitivity. Okay. So this is a sensitive leader. Okay. So you want to start threading traits. Okay. This is a gift marking for leadership. This is a marking of sensitivity, empathy for people. So they're going to be perhaps maybe an empathetic leader. Okay. All the fingers look pretty good. They're all pretty straight. You don't see any real weakness here. The Mercury finger, little finger, you can see it's pretty long. That's actually good. But long Mercury fingers are people that are quick, sharp, and clever. So combine that with leadership. That's gonna provide some nice traits in addition to the leadership. Thumb is in a good position. It's not as far out as it could be, but it's still in a real healthy position there. It's spread out away from the fingers. That's what we want. Those are people that manifest, create their own destiny. Okay, they're doers. Okay, so star of Jupiter. This is the valedictorian. Okay, this is the leader of your senior class. They're high achievers. They believe. Now, Jupiters are very sure of themselves. They know what they want. They're not waffling. They're very sure of themselves. Now, sometimes they haven't totally got there yet. It takes a little while sometimes to develop this. But again, it really is a mark of an inspirational leader. So they're designed to be, this is a design, internal design, that they're designed to be important. So it's just a matter of stepping into that role in life. It's man, woman of influence. Okay, so what are they doing? What if they're not doing their Jupiter? What kind of things? This is more the downside possibilities of not stepping into their gift marking yet, or still in the learning stages of the gift marking. They're, instead of the leader themselves, they're actually the power behind the throne. They're the Nancy Reagan to the President Reagan. They're doing the power, the leadership, the decision making actually behind the perceived leader. Okay, they get their ambitions through somebody else. They settle for a support role rather than the leadership role that they should be in. Victim games, they tend to blame others if things don't go their way, but not that important. Many times you'll see a person that actually will look to marry someone that will fulfill that role for them. So that's a possibility too, the downside penalty phase of the star of Jupiter. So you have to step into that leadership position when you're a Jupiter person. Here's another little star marking, a little bit hard to see, but it's a 6-pointed star. On I would call this an air hand. It's kind of a long hand, long fingers, long palm. So it's a Jupiter finger on an air hand. Air hand people tend to be fair and just. So this may possibly be a real fair, honest, integritous leader. Very long headline. You can see the headline is actually quite long. Remember the rule of the headline: the longer the line, the more or finger, the longer a person spends there. It's a person who spends a lot of time in their head. And we're actually going to talk about this line later when it goes even a little bit further. This is actually a gift marking too. My teacher used to call it the HAL line. HAL from this old movie, HAL is a computer that ended up taking over the world. They can multi-process, but they spend a lot of time in their head, basically. Okay, here's actually a double star, and you can actually see this one a little bit better. Actually, you see two stars right next to each other in the left top circle. And that's an extra responsibility to take on a leadership position in life. Okay, but look at this hand. Look how busy this hand is. What do you think their nervous system is like? So what's interesting to look at is look at the shape of the Jupiter. That might tell you a little bit about if they're having trouble inhabiting that Zeusness, and you see the stress in the how the finger is bent. So he's evidently feeling, or he or she is feeling stress in this area of their life. Okay, and another marking we haven't talked about, it's actually a challenge marker. This is a star, but it's not a positive star so much. It's called desire pollution. It's a person who hasn't really confused about their desires, confused about their passions, what they really like, what they really want. So you think that would make it more difficult if you really didn't know what you want or needed to do your leadership stuff? Yes. So there's going to be a couple challenge markers that are going to show in this hand.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Rick Bernard. We appreciate you guys all being here. If you enjoyed today's class, we would appreciate if you could share your experience on social media to help promote both Rick Bernard and eLotus. As a reminder, the quiz and the video replay will both be available tomorrow afternoon, and you will receive an email notification when they are ready. Thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you at the next webinar on May 3rd, Acupuncture for the Soul, Guardian and Support Archetypes with David Hartman. Bye, guys.